Just when you think Democrats have gotten just a little bit of traction, new numbers come out and they show that they are completely collapsing. I want to jump right into the numbers, guys, because I saw two polls this week that I thought were frankly shocking. Here we go. The first one, this is from CNN. Which one person best reflects the core values of the Democratic Party? Open-ended among Dems. The top person, drum roll if you're listening, if you're watching, you already see it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was the top for 10% of Democrats said that she represented the values. Then you have Kamala Harris at 9%, Bernie Sanders at 8%, Hakeem Jeffries at 6%, Barack Obama at 4%, Crockett at 4%, all these people we don't care about, we don't know, all the way at the bottom. And then 26% that have no opinion. And I actually think that number is kind of fascinating because I think it shows how, first off, no one has a large majority. The top number is 10%. And granted, there's a lot of names here, but when you have such a disparity of percentages and then you have no opinion at 26%, I think that means that the Democrat Party stands for nothing. No one knows what it stands for anymore. Obviously, the more progressive base and the non-liberal base tends to be at the top because we see Kamala Harris, Ocasio-Cortez, Sanders, and Jeffries is at the top. So clearly the progressive wing of the party is the most unified. But the other people are like homeless. Like there's nowhere for them to go. And I think if you look at Republicans, that 26% no opinion sees that group because I think those people are looking at it and truly thinking, I got nothing. I have seriously no idea what this party stands for. Here's the other fascinating thing about this. If you look towards the bottom, some of the more practical people, I'm not saying they're people I agree with, but some of the more practical Democrats are at the very bottom. It's like the least practical people are at the very top, and it's inverted in many ways, which is true for this second poll as well. This one is very definitely inverted. This is for the 2028 National Democratic Primary. The first one, this is a head-to-head matchup, and this is Kamala Harris versus a generic Dem, and we'll talk about that in a second because that is really fascinating. Kamala Harris is at 49% versus generic Dem at 42%, but full field, which is a lot more interesting because it's like actual real people. Kamala Harris is at the top with quite the lead, 33%, to Pete Buttigieg's 10%. So she has a 23% lead on the next Democrat. Under that is Newsom, Ocasio-Cortez, Walz, Crockett. It's like the worst people at the top, like really the worst people. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this politically for a second. Obviously, I'm conservative and I'm a Republican, and I don't like any of these people on the list, but I'm just thinking politically. In my mind, who has the worst chance? If I was working for the Democrat Party and I wanted them to win, who would I say has the worst chance at winning? It is their top five. Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Newsom, Ocasio-Cortez, Walz. Like, those are the worst people. And again, that inverted, you're seeing the inverted on paper because if you look at the bottom, you've got Stephen A. Smith. Look, I'm not saying he's going to be president. I'm not saying that he would even be a good president. But do I think Stephen A. Smith is more likable than Kamala Harris? For sure. And I know a lot of Republicans that like him. If you look at Gallego, for instance, so I think Gallego is solid, no, but he at least comes from a purple state. And then you look at other people like Warnock, again, don't like him, comes from Georgia. Fetterman, I actually kind of like Fetterman. A lot of Republicans do too. He would be a good independent voice. Sure, he's going to piss off the progressives, but he's going to bring a much bigger group together. So those numbers are really fascinating. Basically, all the purple state people are at the very bottom, and all the deep blue, crazy socialist nutso jobs, Harris, Buttigieg, and Newsom. You've got like nutso jobs, but then you also have Buttigieg, who's not necessarily a nutso job. He is, but he's just a nothing. Like in terms of what he believes, he's a nutso job. In terms of like what he's actually done to further the Democrat agenda, he's never done anything. He's actually done nothing. And then, of course, you have people who would actually be kind of formidable, like Josh Shapiro or Fetterman, and it got 2%. So they're dead in the water. They're not even going to be able to compete for a second. But here's the crazy thing that I want to talk about with the first head-to-head versus Kamala Harris poll. This is really, really important. It's not a real person. So the generic Dem is just, hey, would you rather vote for just any old Democrat or Kamala Harris? And usually in polls like this, it's always better to be the generic Dem because it's kind of a cop-out, right? It's a cop-out for voters. They look at it and they're like, well, I don't love Kamala Harris, but generic Dem, I'm a Democrat. So yeah, generic Dem it is. So usually the generic person wins in those polls. It's the thing is in this one, Kamala Harris wins the generic poll by 7%, so quite handily, which means to me that Kamala Harris is not running for California governor like people are talking about. She's just not. Kamala Harris is running for president again. She absolutely is, and it would be crazy not to. Frankly, I'm just being honest. Like, if I'm Kamala Harris and I'm looking at these numbers, I have 49% to against anybody, not a specific person. If you go specific people, then it's like she has a 23% lead, not a 7% lead. But if it's any old person, it's 7%. I'm looking at that as Kamala Harris, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm running for president again. And I think if she ran, I'm pretty sure she would win the nomination, at least as of now. If you look at the numbers, no one's even close to her. And obviously things happen in the campaign. People smear each other, debates happen, and things happen, and all that's fine. And Kamala Harris sucks at being in a primary. We know that because she lost her first one, and then the second one she was just put in there because she couldn't actually successfully win a primary. Maybe that wouldn't be the case the second time around, though. I'm not so sure it would be because of the fact that the polls look so strong for her. And again, it's music to my ears to hear this because I don't think Kamala Harris can beat any Republican. She is such a weak sauce candidate. That's why it's so surprising to see how powerful she is in the eyes of Democrats, because nationally, she is totally weak sauce, and she's marred by a few horrible campaigns as well as a horrible presidency with Joe Biden. And I just don't think people are going to even be able to forget any of that, even if Republicans don't put up a great candidate. We don't know what the Republican nomination is going to look like. It looks like J.D. Vance has as much support on the Republican side as Kamala Harris does on the Democrat side. So it seems very likely that it would be him. We don't know that for sure. But if you've got J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, that can't be close. I don't think that's close. Donald Trump won the popular vote by 1.5%. I think J.D. Vance wins by at least that much. And that means he takes every swing state with him. And so I just don't know how, again, as a Democrat, you would want Kamala Harris as your nominee, but they do. So I think that's what we're going to get. There's only 1 month left to file your taxes, and the IRS is coming for your money. Fortunately, I partnered with Quick Tax America, who hates the IRS as much as you do, so they fight to get you every dollar back possible. This year, Quick Tax America has already gotten its average tax returner $3,000 back from the IRS, and unlike the other services online, they are not raising rates in March and April. They do all federal tax returns for only $69. It's a completely transparent price because it's their only price, no matter how complicated your taxes are. They do all the work as well. All you got to do is upload your files, answer a few basic questions, and schedule a 15-minute finish your return call with a tax professional, and they do all the rest of the work. So go check them out at quicktaxamerica.com, or you can go to the link in the description below. Big Mike, Michelle Obama, has started a podcast, and it is really bad. It is really bad. It is not doing well. And when you watch it, you can tell why. So here's a small clip from one of her episodes. I think it was just from this last week, just to get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Now that you're an icon, people are like, what's your sister like? What's this? I was like, listen, this woman used to take care of me from the time when all the way back to when you used to play the piano for me before games. Yes, people, before my high school basketball games, my elementary school sister would play the piano so I could take a nap. And you'd play, even after I went to sleep, you kept playing, teaching me how to dance.
Oh, yes. You needed help.
Before I would go to the prom.
Because he was on the court and he hadn't learned like some basic moves. So it's like, dude, your first dance, you got to. So we put on the record player and I gave you a couple moves that you are still doing to this day.
I still do these moves to
That's all
today.
You got. It's good though. It's you staying in the pocket.
Stay in there.
Riveting stuff. It's failing completely, and I'll talk about why. And here's the numbers for you. These are just some numbers you can see on YouTube of her channel. She joined just this year, so it hasn't been long. She has 36,000 subscribers and 430,000 views, which is not a lot, guys. I don't know how it's possible. You look at Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is probably one of the most famous women on earth, like truly Oprah level, I would say. And she has 430,000 views. And just for some context, guys, I'm a random guy, and my show has 2.8 million views. And those have come in the last year. So it's not like I've been doing this for 5 years, you know what I mean? And yet, Michelle, and I'm not just trying to crap on Michelle Obama, by the way, because I understand that this industry is really competitive and very hard. Obviously, the show is bad, and that's why no one watches. But like, it's Michelle Obama. You would think more people would watch. But I think that what this means is it represents the ending of the Obama era influence in America. Because you can think, this is another example, you think back to Barack Obama during this last election, and you had him looking at a group of black men and saying, you cannot vote for Donald Trump if you're black. That's what he said. And the backlash to that was fierce. It was intense. And then you had a higher number of blacks voting for Trump than any other Republican since Nixon. So I think, and so again, Michelle's side, no views. Barack's side, gives some advice, goes horribly wrong. And so based on that, the only thing I can really surmise is that the Obama's popularity is over. And here's the really interesting part about that and what it really means. There's very clearly, I've talked about it a lot on my show, other people have too. There's very clearly a very influential Democrat elite right now that talk, and the Obamas are certainly part of it. There's no doubt. And we saw that with Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was handpicked by the Obamas, no question. So they are very influential when it comes to the Democrat elite. I'm not saying that. However, at the same time, I think that this could represent the disconnect we are seeing right now. We can see a total disconnect right now between Democrats and the Democrat elite and normal people. And again, it's fierce, like it is intense. It was represented by some of the numbers I showed in the earlier section, where people don't know what the Democrat Party even stands for anymore. And I think when you see this happening in real time with the Obamas' popularity, it starts to all make sense. Because the Obamas are not popular with the American people, but they're very popular with the Democrat elite. In fact, one could say they are the Democrat elite. Like, they run the whole thing. And so perhaps this kind of shows us why the Democrat Party is struggling so bad right now. They're run by people who cannot get any views. And they're run by people who give political advice that it's not only offensive, but no one wants to follow it. So no wonder why the Democrat Party is completely disconnected right now when it's run by the Obamas, who have lost all popularity. Hey guys, I want to let you know about a deal I'm running right now on Amazon. My book, A New Cult, it's up on the bookshelf right there, is only $9.99. I talk about some of the crazy cult stories from the Democrat Party and how they are doing things just like some of the most famous cults in history. I had a great time writing it. I know you'll enjoy reading it as well, so go check it out. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, go down below, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and watch another video.